Welcome to the show, everyone. I'm your host, Robbie, and this is The Unhinged Father. It's a podcast for normal folks looking for some humor, connection, relatability, or those who just like the sound of my sultry voice. A place where we can embrace aiming to be better people, but can accept that we will never get there. And that's okay. We're okay. I'm not some enlightened asshole here to tell you how amazing and perfect my life is, and then convince you to buy my how-to guide on how to make your shit not stink. I'm right here in the mud with you, working towards a better life, extending a hand out along the way. Now let's go ahead and jump into this week's episode. Welcome in, everyone. Happy Thanksgiving Eve. Hope everyone's having a fantastic week so far. The holidays are officially upon us. It's definitely flown by super fast. And also, side note, Thanksgiving is very, very late this year. I can't remember a year where Thanksgiving was this late to where it's basically like you're jumping right into December as soon as Thanksgiving's over. So, I always say that Christmas is a season, Thanksgiving's a holiday. It's a little break, a little intermission, if you would, from the Christmas season. But this year, that's definitely true. As soon as Thanksgiving's over, it's like you got to rush out, go get your Christmas tree, throw up all your Christmas decorations, and get ready for that time. So that way you have as much time as possible to celebrate the Christmas season. But anyways, this week isn't about Christmas. This week is about Thanksgiving, and there's a couple things that I wanted to go over today, possibly a little bit of a shorter episode. We'll see where my mind goes, but just there's a ton of shit going on. I'm sure that all of you have the same thing going on in your lives right now. I'm trying to figure out how the fuck I'm going to get out an episode a week during the holidays, because it's just going to be absolute chaos. Kids out of school, no childcare, all the good stuff that comes along with being a parent, being older, having more responsibility during the holiday season. But today, let's kind of focus on Thanksgiving. We're one day away from the big day, from Turkey Day. Whether or not you like turkey, ham, green beans, cranberry sauce, all the other traditional things that go along, well, mashed potatoes, gravy, stuffing, or dressing, depending on if you're a weirdo and you call it dressing as opposed to stuffing. Thanksgiving is great for food. Awesome for just gorging yourself, although I've tried over the past couple of years to hold off from feeling like absolute shit after Thanksgiving dinner. I used to just sit there, crush a ton of food, and then basically have to lay on the floor for hours, and that's not possible anymore now that I've got two little munchkins running around that want to play. I've got to make sure that I'm still able to get up, move around, bend over without puking my guts up. So I do like Thanksgiving, the message that goes behind it, not necessarily the pilgrims and the Indians or whatever you want to call it. That is less important. I don't really give a shit about those things, but it's more so like the spirit of Thanksgiving. And it's actually got me thinking about a couple of different things now that I'm at the ripe old age of 36, about to turn 37. And that's what I really wanted to talk about this week. Before I jump into that, I also wanted to make a quick note here that for all of you Thanksgiving apologists out there that really want to make it a bigger thing than it actually is, in terms of like compared to the Christmas season, you guys need to figure out some fucking movies then, right? There are no movies for Thanksgiving except for Trains, Planes, and Automobiles, and maybe a Thanksgiving Charlie Brown movie. I am not aware of any Thanksgiving movies that are any good. So if you want to take Thanksgiving to the next level, then I suggest you somehow work your way up in Hollywood, write a script, and create a couple of really good Thanksgiving movies, and then maybe that'll take this holiday to the next level. But until that time, Christmas still reigns supreme. Anyways, let's go ahead and jump into what I wanted to talk about in something that's been really at the forefront of what I think about, what I reflect on, and that is gratitude, and more so contentment. And it's kind of a tough thing for me as a father, and not just a father, as a person as well. When I was younger, you're always taught to strive to be better, strive to do better things, strive for greatness. If you fail, try again. You have to practice really hard in order to get better at anything that you do. And these are things that are instilled in people early on to give them resilience and determination and a bunch of other characteristics that are really needed to be truly successful in the world. But one thing that's never really talked about, or maybe it is talked about, but it doesn't seem to come across as important to people, or they don't put as much emphasis on it, is this concept of being grateful and being content with what you have, being content with where you're at. And you do hear parents talk about contentment when it comes to Christmas, toys. Hey, you need to be happy for what you do have. But we don't do a good job of modeling that for our kids either. We're always wanting more. The house isn't clean enough. We don't have a big enough barbecue, or our kitchen is a disaster. We need to remodel the bathroom. There's always different things that we're constantly looking towards in order to improve our lives or improve our situations. And this is something that happens quite a bit within my family. I do it, my wife does it, and then I've noticed that sometimes with our kids, they're not necessarily content with what they've got or what they've done. And I just wanted to spend a little bit of time here today because I think that this is very important to everyone, but also to parents, because I've been thinking about, all of the things that we accumulate, or the awards we achieve, or the high praises that we get. None of that stuff is going to come with us, or none of that stuff is truly going to matter when we're dead and gone. When we're gone, we're gone, right? If you believe in heaven, like I do, then hopefully you're up in heaven. You get to look down and see your legacy with your kids and your family. And you've left the world a better place than when you got here. But ultimately, if you go through life and you're never content, it's like, what's the point of life? Is it just a constant struggle, constant work, constantly moving forward? Or is there a point in time where you're actually going to sit back and enjoy life, enjoy the life that you've been given, because you're not going to be given another one? A lot of people try to work really hard, wait till they're super old, and by the time they're really old, they can't fucking move, they can't walk, they've got back pains, or unfortunately something happens, they never make it to that ripe old age, and they've never spent any moment of their life really being content with what they've got, never being blessed in the things that they have in this world. And I don't necessarily want to get there. And I'm sure a lot of people are sitting there listening. When I say a lot of people, I mean all four of you are sitting and listening to me talk about this and are kind of rolling their eyes because, like, oh yeah, I've heard this before. Be grateful and be content with what you have. But that's how society stalls. If people aren't constantly pushing forward and trying to do better, then how are we going to continue to progress within this life? And I understand that. Like I said, I have this internal conflict personally where I want to strive to do better things. I want to strive to be a better person. I mean, half of this podcast is me talking about the things that I'm trying to focus on in order to become a better person. I'm not saying that you need to completely get rid of this aspect of yourself or this aspect with your kids, like what you're trying to install in your kids, of being better, of progressing, of not being content with where you are right now when it comes to certain things. But my ask is that you're also aware that if you do this constantly, you're going to get rid of that portion or that part of a person that can be content, that can feel, and I hesitate to tie happiness to contentment, because I think that they're two completely different things. But I do think that true happiness can only come through a sense of contentment with where you're at, with what you have, with what you've been blessed with, and then as who you are as a person. Being content with who you are as a person is something that I think is really big. And that's one of the reasons why when I talk about progressing as a person or getting better, it's not necessarily me changing who I am. It's just becoming the best version of myself that I could possibly become. And I think that sweet spot between progress and being content is going to be different for every person out there. And you don't have to do that. You don't have to be content with your life. You don't have to be content with your house. You don't have to be content with your job, or you don't have to be content with even your family, yourself. No one is forcing you to do those things. It's just something that I've been reflecting on as a person, as a dad, and what I want out of life ultimately. Yeah, I want to provide a good life for my kids. I want to make money. I want to make a difference in the world. There are a lot of these things that I want to do, But at the end of the day, if I spend so much time focusing on all of those things, I'm not spending time in the moment. I'm not being present with my kids. And, for us, we want another child. We have 2 kids right now. We've gone through some fertility issues, and we have a big issue that is potentially going to make us go through IVF. We're very lucky that we have the 2 that we do have. We were blessed, and they have been awesome. I love both of my boys to death, but we do hope that we get to have a third one. And in some aspects, having a third one has become a sense of stress or of desire, of want. Like, we really want this third one to add to our family. And that in and of itself is not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing for us. It's a good thing. We want to bring another life into this world. We want to have another child, and we want to, try and raise this family to, like I said, leave the world a better place than when we got here. But it can be overwhelming, and it can take over a lot of areas of our lives, emotionally, mentally, financially. There's a lot of things that go into, for us in particular, trying to have this third child. And it's got me thinking that, we want this third child so much, but are we spending so much time thinking and worrying about this third one that we're deteriorating the time that we have with the 2 we already have? Like, is that time not as valuable? And are we not being as present with our kids because we're not content with those 2? And that doesn't mean that, my kids are being ignored or that we don't love them or anything like that. It's just this slight change in mindset for me on wanting to make sure that the time that I do spend with those that I love is spent in a mindset of being content and being happy, because that is where my kids are going to get the most from me. That's where my friends, my family, everyone are going to get the most from me as a person when I'm in this area of being content, being present, and being with them. And I think that that's something that we should focus on this Thanksgiving. I know we always talk about what you're grateful for, and that's a good thing. We should be grateful. I'm grateful for everything that I've been given in this life, but we should also be asking, are we content? Do we feel like we're blessed? Are we happy if everything was said and done and this was the end all be all right here? This was all that we were going to be given. For us, an example, right? If we were only going to have our 2 kids that we currently have, are we going to let the fact that we're not going to have a third one take over and deteriorate the time that we have with our 2 kids that are already a blessing to us? And I don't want that to happen. So that's what I've been thinking about during this Thanksgiving season, and hopefully it makes sense. I'm just kind of spitballing this like every fucking episode, in all honesty, but it's just something that I wanted to talk about, to kind of hash out kind of with myself over this episode of the podcast. So I hope that it hits home with some of you out there, and that it's something that you think about as well. Because as I mentioned earlier in the podcast, and as I say quite a bit in my life, is that we model for our kids. We are the people that need to set the example for them. And a lot of times we'll tell them to do certain things, and then we will model completely different things to them. I notice this with me, where we don't let them use screens very often besides TV, right? They'll get to watch movies and television shows and stuff, but they have to sit down and actually watch the TV. They don't get an iPad to walk around with. They don't get a phone to walk around with. And these are rules that we have within the family, that they're not able to use these things. But I notice that sometimes I'm on my phone. I'm looking at stuff during time that I should be spending with them. And my eldest son is starting to call me out on it. He's like, "Dad, can you put your phone down?" And that's just something that we need to remember, that if we want to build resilient kids, we need to be resilient ourselves. We can't let everything knock us over. If we want to build kids that are going to be content in life and are able to be present, then we need to show them what it's like to be content, to be present. I can tell you that my kids definitely copy the way that we talk. And sometimes it's a good reflection to see how your child's acting and then look internally to see if you're the one that's causing that, right? If my oldest son is kind of being a little sasshole, I have to look internally. Me and my wife both have to look internally and be like, hey, is this the way that we're talking to other people? Because if we're asking him to talk nicely to other people, we need to make sure that we're also doing that as well, because he's just going to look and see what we're doing. And it doesn't matter what we say. It matters what we do. I don't like that saying that much because it does matter what we say as well. You have to instruct and tell your kids different things along the way, but modeling behavior is just as important as that instruction, that verbal instruction. So I think that that's probably most of what's on my mind. Like I said, it's been a busy week. Thanksgiving's coming up and I got a lot of shit to do. The holidays are going to be absolutely batshit crazy. So I'm going to work as hard as I can to continue to bring you, one episode a week, not necessarily just for you, also for myself. This is something that I'm working on being more consistent, spending more time on things that are beneficial to me. And the podcast is something that I really enjoy doing. And I've been happy to see that it's growing and there's been more people listening, people I don't even know. I mean, it's crazy now. I can see where people are listening from, and I've got a couple of international listeners out in Germany, which I'm sure are probably my cousins. Thank you for listening. I appreciate it. And then I can see across the United States and different states that I don't really know anyone in, each week, people tuning in. So I really appreciate it. And I hope that you're getting something from this show as well. And if there is anything that you would like me to talk about or anything that you want my thoughts on, obviously, since I am a enlightened guru, just completely the smartest person in the world with the most enlightened perspective on anything and everything that you could ever want. And if you can't hear the sarcasm in my voice, it's because I'm monotone. But if there's anything that you would like me to speak on or any questions that you potentially had, I say it at the end of this, but I'll say it again. Click that little button that says, send me a message about the episode. You can let me know what you think about the episode, or if there's anything that you'd like me to expand upon, or any potentially other topics that you'd like me to dive into. You can utilize that to let me know. Heads up, can't respond to it. So if you send me a message that way, I won't be able to say like anything in response. It doesn't tell me who sends it. It's just an anonymous message that comes through. But anyways, I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap this one up. That is our Thanksgiving episode, and just continue to try and be grateful, right? That's the main ask of this one. It's mostly me asking myself to be grateful, be content, be present, be there with your family, and try to have the best holiday that you could possibly have. I know that the holidays are stressful. So for anyone out there that has stressful holidays, you've got a ton of plans, you have people coming in town, you're hosting, you fight with your family. I mean, we already had the political one. So, if you have that crazy uncle who's always talking politics and he's complete opposite ideological from you, I'm sorry. I know you're going to have to go through it. Everything's going to be okay. It's going to be all right. Try to enjoy the holidays as much as you can. It really is a magical time. And I love Christmas, Thanksgiving, Halloween. These are amazing times of year. And even though they can be stressful, try to make that mindset shift to where you're enjoying the holidays. You're content. You're with your family. You're with your kids. Enjoy the small things. For me, it's waking up on Christmas, having no one else around, making some coffee, having a cinnamon roll, listening to Christmas music, and then having the kids come through and just the excitement that's on their face when they get to see that Santa's come and there's presents under the tree, and just, it's something that I want to cherish, something that I want to be content within, something I want to be present for. So that's going to do it for the podcast today. Again, happy holidays, happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. I'm going to have a couple more episodes come out before the end of the year. I may take a week off, but have a good one. Happy Thanksgiving. That's it for this week's episode. I appreciate y'all being here with me today. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasting needs met. If you feel the show deserves it, leave a 5-star review. It really helps. For more content, follow me on social media. As the show continues to evolve and grow, I have a big ask for all of my Unhinged fans. Each week, I'm going to ask you to share the episode with one person in your life that would relate to or benefit from the message. Click the share episode button and text it to them, email it to them, or send it through social media. Whatever you do, please help spread the word to others. Your support and endorsement is greatly appreciated. In the episode description, you'll find a send me a message button. Use it to suggest topics or share your thoughts on the episode. Just a heads up, I can't see who sent the message or respond in any way, shape, or form. So if you would like a response or you want to be a guest on the show, send me an email at unhinged.father@gmail.com. Thank you for your support. Have a fantastic day. And as always, be good, try hard, do your best.